do have a question, actually, that's kind of related to this.
Hit me, young Mike.
You deal in the world of inner work, some could say. And there's this idea of inner work in whatever you want to call it, self-development community, spiritual community. Could you just maybe touch on how the physical reality plays into, and you're talking about changing things in your life, and for example, you know, if a relationship's abusive, just actually leaving it, like literally arranging things in your physical reality, the actual things you can touch and see, circumstances, just actually changing them to, you know, for example, Feng Shui. You set up this loft here in a certain way, in the physical items. This is not all the inner.
No.
You're not in an empty white room, which I'm sure is great.
Yeah.
Right? You have certain things that influence you.
Sure, it's a little crazy too. That's why psychiatric wards are all white rooms, right?
Well, you're just a little bit crazy.
A little crazy. We got the white room.
Yeah. So could you've studied this. So could you talk about physical items and how to arrange those? Not how to arrange those in your life, but why.
Yeah.
Why
well,
it matters, I guess.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. That's a good question. I think that in general, we have to be aware that a lot of the times the inner work is not just emotional and non-physical. A lot of times it literally requires us changing our habits and our routines, which means changing our physical appearance, which means like if you're a bum every day and you look in the mirror and you feel like a bum because you don't do anything with your appearance, you don't make yourself feel good, well, you're going to feel like a bum no matter what you do, you know? And yeah, you could spend 5 years in meditation and maybe you could still, by the end of that, look like a bum but not feel like a bum. But it's a lot easier to change how you feel when you kind of can rearrange the outer experience a bit. So yeah, in my experience, a lot of the times when I've kind of gone through little realizations that I need to make some changes and stuff, it starts with cleaning myself up. It starts with cleaning my space up, making sure that I have a nice, clean space, you know? If you have, and actually Mike was one of the guys I remember like a while back, one of the first times you came over to my house, you were just like going off to me about, I had like cups and just shit everywhere, right? Like just lazy, you know, not putting stuff away and having like old cans and stuff around, you know. And he's like, oh, this is so easy, Virgo. So he's you know, and I'm like, okay, it is what it is, you know. But I just realized, you know, when you take the time to kind of clean that up, you just feel better.
It sends subconscious signals to you about the kind of person that you are.
It does. No, I agree wholeheartedly, and I think that's also why I was a little resistant to it in the beginning, for sure. You know, I was like, oh, what the hell are you talking about, man? I like it messy, you know. No, I like it organized. I have lots of shit everywhere, but it's organized, and that's how I flow, you know, like there's lots of knickknacks and stimuli as you guys walked in, you're like, oh, you know, but it's organized and it's clean and there's a good flow to it. So yeah, I mean, in order to change your circumstances, you have to change your circumstances. You have to change, you know, you have to make some arrangements. So a lot of times that just could be something as simple as getting rid of old shit. You know, that's a great thing that everyone should do at least once a year, to just get rid of old things that you don't need anymore. Why not? You know, you can go hardcore and get into Feng Shui and stuff. One of my good friends recently introduced me to Bagua, which is a desk Feng Shui, you know, Feng Shui of your workspace, and certain corners mean certain things. It's all broken up into like 9 different kind of squares or octagons. It's actually an octagon, but yeah, so I think that's a very important thing, you know, because like,
what is
as
Feng Shui
within,
for the people that don't know? How do you describe it?
Well, Feng Shui is just the I guess it would be the art of the energy flow of a space. So directing certain things, having certain aspects of your space set up in a way that allows the energy to flow in a positive way, meaning that you don't have a bunch of clutter in a corner where stuff is just building, energy is building up, you know, because energy is a very important element to space. You know, you could have a very ugly space but have really good energy in it, and you could have a very clean, beautiful, luxurious space but just have gross energy into it. So Feng Shui is about the energy flow. Like, I know people that get paid like, thousands of dollars to just come in for like less than an hour and help people do feng shui, in their home and stuff. So, I think that's very important. And, if you're into kind of natural, like Qigong and all that stuff, you're aware that,
my master does Feng Shui. Yeah. They teach it as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
Everything from symmetry and even like picking your house.
Yeah.
On the
numbers,
street.
the streets, the location of the street, the location of the house on the street, how many trees are on your property. There's so many different variables there of the energy flows that most people aren't aware of.
I never knew Feng Shui before I felt Feng Shui. Like I was just, as a kid, I sort of like took after my mom and always wanted things like neat and tidy and organized, and my dad was like the total opposite. And that just like always bugged me, and I'd always like, clean and organize his truck up, and no matter what, I love the guy or whatever, but a week later the truck is like a disaster again. I just feel that it's, your exterior world is sort of a representation of your inner world, and that's not always the case. I mean, I see, a lot of successful people, but I don't know much more about, deep into their lives, but maybe they're miserable or depressed or whatever. But it just sort of see like certain artists that I see, and it's like you can't have a Michelangelo unless he's very detailed and specific to be able to create something that is so powerful and unique. And like certain chefs that I see, there's ones that are like extremely meticulous, and they're looking at your uniform, and I'm like, did you order out tonight? Because it doesn't look like you cooked. There's like nothing on his uniform, but it's like,
keep it clean.
Keeping it clean, like it's, for me, it's important, and it affects my mind, my well-being, as much as, that's been tested a little bit for me recently, and I just had to, accept certain things and just learn how to deal with it and grow and hopefully help other people out in that. And that's just, to me, it's funny that we got on this topic, but it's like, that to me is like extremely important. I have my space, and as long as I find like I at least try to keep my bedroom always pristine, and then as long as I can have a safe space to go into and go like, okay, everything just feels like it's in the right place. And I have this idea of like, I can see it. I can just feel the furniture. If that desk or that chair isn't sitting in the right position, I have to go over and like move it. And then
Who's the Virgo here?
Yeah, he has some Virgo planets.
Oh, he does, yeah.
That's right. You know more about my chart than I do.
That's right. I have it saved in your business file.
Incredible.
I know how to navigate it.
I have it too saved on my old phone that's lost in the jungle.
Because I think a lot of people that don't consciously know this, like, when you feel in a situation why something, this just feels right, or this just feels like a perfect moment sitting in this chair in this room right now, but I don't know why. It's like the angles of these things, very specific.
Yeah. Or you guys just come in and you're like, dang, it feels good in here, it's a vibe. It's the same thing,
Angelo, I think you're underplaying the fact that you've had a color-coded closet for 20 years. You didn't mention that. You said
longer than that.
Yeah.
Longer than 20 years.
Well, I did a little bit of Army Cadets, and I had this before Army Cadets, but it's just like, I always organized. After Halloween, I organized all my candies so that I just knew which ones I had, so I could plan it out and made sure I had a Tootsie Roll left till the end. I just like, and my mom obviously, recognizes this stuff. And I even had like, my closet was sort of a spectacle at some point, and people wanted to check out my closet.
Come look at Angelo's closet.
It's pretty good now that I got a larger closet, and one of my weaknesses is like clothing, and I recently was in Peru and I picked up all this colorful clothing. I'm like, where the fuck is this gonna fit in my closet? Because it's like a rainbow of colors. But it's just for me it's I love spontaneity, and I love to be like off the cuff and crazy or whatever, but there's some part of me that's just like, you go into nature and it's like, for me that's perfect. Like I wouldn't want to move that tree, but I don't know, in sort of like our human our like constructed world that we live in, and like being in whatever, in a city or in a home or something that isn't completely natural, although I think everything's natural. It's just like, yeah, that the color of that chair needs to be a certain color, it needs to be facing a certain way, and just, to me, it feels right. And I can feel, I mean, doing demos and standing behind a demo table and just observing everything you possibly can observe about someone. When they're stepping up to the table, how far away do they notice you at the table?
Mm-hmm.
Are they looking with both eyes? Are they completely zoned in? Do they walk up and just look at one item coming up to the table? Are they looking at the entire table? Are they looking at your eyes? What are they carrying in their cart? How are they dressed? What's in their cart? Like, you're like, and that's what I found. I didn't even notice I was doing this until like maybe a few years of actually doing demos, and I've been doing demos for a long time, but it's just like really a study of human behavior and just seeing, like, again, every possible thing that they could be doing and noticing. So I would always change the order of certain things on the table, stagger the colors, make sure, like, you could just, as simple as having 4 bottles or 8 bottles on the table, there's so many different things you can do. You can change the shape of the bowls, and there's a different reaction that you'll have. I mean, not always, but it's funny, like a certain time, and when we changed our labels, there was a certain question that people always had. It was the same question, like, and literally when you talk to hundreds of people and they have that same question, it's just like something clicked off in my head. I'm
feedback.
Like, yeah, I got to change something on that label so that they're not asking that question anymore. Because there's something is not, they're not reading it, or it's not bold enough, or whatever it is. And it's just like, and then that's even more, I became even more, I don't know, detailed to, like, well, labels especially, because that's, you know, all the products we put out, like, they get, I'm like the last filter before they get launched onto the market, and it's just
green
like
thumb.
Yeah, the green thumb
or the red thumb.
My sister-in-law, I think, got annoyed with me at the beginning because we were going through this process, and I'm like, yeah, the 500 mil on there needs to be like a couple of points bigger because it's not quite balanced with the flag on the other side, and people are looking, and then we're going to look for that side, and it's like certain details like that, and it's just like, what, we got to change that, and it's like, yeah, it's just like, I just can feel that it's not right, and then we make the change, and
That was amazing.
that's amazing. Sales skyrocket.
Yeah, of course.
But changing colors, though, that's a big one, or making colors more bold. And I mean, I love
Or
colors.
symbols. I remember the first time we met, you were going over those designs for the Saturna
Yeah, that's right.
and Sol and
Our
Luna.
biodynamic line, yeah. It's
Yeah.
got all the planetary symbols on it.
There we go.
Great segue. You're a genius.